What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So I will be making schedule predictions for every single Power 5 team in college football for this upcoming season, and I'll also do a subsequent conference standings video once I finish every team in a specific conference, just as a synopsis of all of my schedule predictions for said conference, and then those synopsis videos will be coming later on in the season as we get closer to the start of the regular season later on into August. I have a lot of individual videos to get through between now and then, though, so let's go ahead and get into this Kansas schedule prediction. So just some quick thoughts on the Kansas football program at this point, and this is a beleaguered program to say the least. They haven't been bowl eligible in many years, and they really haven't even been close to that. I mean, 1- and 2-win seasons have been the norm for them as of late, which really says a lot about the program as a whole to this point. Now, last year they got a massive and honestly hilarious upset win over Texas, and that helped them gain some momentum heading into this upcoming season. And now that doesn't mean they're going to be a great program all of a sudden or anything like that, but it does mean that they may be a little bit better than some people think, and they could potentially snag another upset somewhere along the way. Overall, though, they just aren't a very good football program at this point, and I don't see that changing very much this year. They just don't have the talent to compete at this point. And so normally at this point, I would go ahead and look at some teams that don't have much of a chance just because they're outmatched, but for Kansas, there are none of those. They are the team that's usually outmatched. So they open up the season on a Friday against Tennessee Tech at home, and this is probably the only game on the schedule where you can conclusively say Kansas has the better roster. Kansas is the better team in this game. Now, I don't think they're going to be dramatically better than Tennessee Tech, which is saying something, and it's definitely one that they could end up losing. Now, I don't think they will. I think they get a win here. But, you know, they barely won their game like this. I forget who they played last year, but they barely won their cupcake game last year. And I think this year it's going to be another decently competitive game, all things considered. But I do think Kansas gets that win there in Week 1. Then the next week they go at West Virginia, and West Virginia is a team that I think is a bowl caliber team. I think they're going to be very good. They've got JT Daniels at quarterback. They're not a team that you can ignore or take lightly. And they're definitely a better team than Kansas. Kansas might be able to, make some noise in this game. Kansas is good enough to hang around for a little bit in some of these games. They're not going to be good enough to win it, though. I have West Virginia winning that one big. Then Week 3, you have an interesting game, and it is at Houston. Now, Houston is better than Kansas, but not by a dramatic amount. Now, they are certainly the better team, but Kansas is good enough to be somewhat competitive with them. And even though they're on the road, I think Kansas gets an upset somewhere on the schedule. I'm going to say it's here. I'm going to say Week 3 at Houston, they get their upset and kind of surprise Houston and shock everybody, honestly, a little bit. And it's not nearly as big of an upset as Texas was last year, but it is still certainly an upset game. I'm going to go with Kansas in that one. And then Week 4 comes around, and they get to host Duke. Now, this is one that really, if they want to break past the 2-win total, this is one they're going to have to win. I think Duke is a little bit better than them. I think Duke probably wins this game, but it's certainly close between two teams that are kind of bottom feeders in their respective conferences. It might be kind of interesting because of that. If you like watching, really bad college football, it could be interesting because they are going to be very evenly matched. And like I said, they are both bottom feeders in their conferences. So I'm going to say Duke gets the win there ever so slightly. It's a toss-up. Kansas could win that game, but I don't think they do. And then you get into the rest of the Big 12 schedule, and it starts to go downhill very quick. They play Iowa State at home. Iowa State is dramatically better than them, similar to West Virginia. Now, again, they're good enough to hang around for a little while, but I just don't see them making much of a real push in that game. Going to go with Iowa State to win big. Same story the next week with TCU, also at home. TCU, I think, is probably even a little bit better than Iowa State. They're a very good team. Kansas is not. There's a huge gap between the two. I'm going to say TCU wins big as well. Week after that, Kansas goes at Oklahoma, and this would be really fun to see Kansas really make a big effort in and keep it close. And they have in the past, but I don't think that they can really do much here. It would be kind of ridiculous to predict them to win this game. They're going to be a massive underdog in it. But hopefully they can make it interesting for everybody else watching. Hopefully they can make that game fun. I don't think so, to be honest. I think Oklahoma probably rolls in a huge blowout win there, but who knows? The following week, they go at Baylor, and very similar story to at Oklahoma. Baylor is dramatically better than them. I think Baylor is one of the best teams in the conference, and they're on the road there. Maybe they can make it interesting and fight them hard and keep it close and make it worth watching for a little while. But I'm not holding my breath on it. I think Baylor probably wins in a blowout win as well. Then they get a bye week before Oklahoma State. I don't think it's going to help them. They're at home for that game. I also don't think that's going to help them all that much. Oklahoma State is maybe the best team in the conference, to be honest, and I have really high hopes for them. I don't see them slipping up and losing to Kansas here. I think Oklahoma State wins in a blowout. Week after that, they go at Texas Tech, and this is one where they could potentially compete for a little while. Texas Tech is definitely noticeably better than them, and they're on the road, but Texas Tech isn't, as big of a gap as the Oklahoma State, Baylor types. It is still a large gap, though. I don't think there's much of a realistic shot Kansas wins that game, but maybe they have a shot. They could be competitive. Still think Texas Tech wins big. And then there's the also important home game against Texas. They did win in pretty hilarious fashion last year. I think it was like 57-56. I don't think there's a repeat of that. I think Texas is going to be out for revenge on that one. I think they're going to try to make a statement. I think Texas is just going to be genuinely a much better team this upcoming season as well. So I think Texas wins that one pretty big. But it would be really funny to see Kansas compete with them once again. And then they round out the year at Kansas State, and Kansas State is another team that maybe they can be competitive with. I don't think so. I think Kansas State is much better than them, and they're at home. I know it's technically kind of a rivalry game, but not really. I don't know. I just don't see Kansas putting up much of a fight in that one as well. Now, they will probably compete and fight hard for the first half or so. I just don't see on the scoreboard them being very close. I think Kansas State probably wins pretty big there. And so that would make Kansas 2-10 on the year, which is the same record they had last year. And honestly, it's assuming a pretty big upset win over Houston just to get to 2 wins. They could very easily be 1-11 if they don't pull that off. Now, they could sneak up to 2 or 3 wins with a win over Duke, or by upsetting a Big 12 team. Upsetting a Big 12 team seems quite unlikely. I'm not saying it won't happen. I just wouldn't bet on it. Now, the Duke win would be huge for them, and it is still somewhat likely. I still think Duke is a little bit better than them, but they are at home, and that's probably one of their best options for beating a Power 5 team this year. I just don't think this year's team is going to be able to do much different on the total win-loss. I think they will be a slight improvement over last year's team, to be honest. They're just so much worse than every other team in their conference and really in the Power 5 that I don't see them getting past 2, maybe 3 wins. Anyway, though, that'll do it for this one. Let me know down below in the comment section where you guys agree with me and where you disagree with me on the Kansas schedule in 2022. Tell me what record you think they're going to have next year and who, if anybody, they're going to lose to. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, be sure to just go ahead and leave a like because it does help out the channel tremendously. Let us know you guys are enjoying this kind of content. And subscribe to the channel for more college football content in the future. I'm going to be finishing up the Big 12 soon and then moving on. I've already finished up the ACC and the SEC, so check those out if you haven't and be on the lookout for the new stuff coming in the near future. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.